Have you ever taken a sip of room temperature coffee? Now, as a coffee drinker myself, just the thought of that makes me sad and uneasy. It's neither refreshingly cold or comfortably warm. It's just there. It's lukewarm. And what do we usually do with lukewarm coffee? We either heat it up, we throw in some ice, or we throw it out. Now, this is exactly the image that Jesus was using when he addresses the church in Laodicea. He says, I know your works, that you are neither hot nor cold. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to spit you out of my mouth. Those are strong words, aren't they? But here's what makes them even more explicit. Laodicea had a water problem. The city was built without its own water source. They had to use pipes to bring in hot water from the nearby hot springs. But there was a problem with this. By the time that water had reached them, it was lukewarm. They also had to bring cold water from the mountain springs. But guess what? It also arrived lukewarm. The Laodiceans knew exactly what Jesus meant. Their faith had become just like their water supply, grossly unsatisfying. But water wasn't their only issue. Laodicea was known for three things: their wealth, their manufacturing, and their medical school. They were self-sufficient. They were proud of it. In fact, when an earthquake destroyed their city in 60 AD, they had the resources that allowed them to refuse Roman aid. And listen to how they saw themselves. I am rich. I have acquired wealth, and I do not need a thing. It sounds pretty confident, doesn't it? But Jesus saw something completely different. He said that they were wretched, that they were pitiful, they were poor, they were blind, and that they were naked. The very things that they prided themselves on, their wealth, their fine clothes, their medical knowledge, Jesus used to expose their spiritual poverty. Isn't this convicting? How often do we allow our material comforts to hide our spiritual needs? When was the last time you felt desperate for God? When was the last time you felt spiritually hungry or spiritually thirsty? The tragedy of Laodicea wasn't that they were far from God. It's that they didn't even realize that they needed Him. Their comfort had become their curse. Their ability to be completely self-reliant led them to becoming spiritually lazy. But even here, in this sharp criticism, Jesus offers hope. Those whom I love, I rebuke and discipline. And then He gives one of the most tender images in all of Revelation. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person, and they with me. Think about that. The same Jesus who threatens to spit them out of His mouth also offers to come in and have dinner with them. And what's even more amazing is that He doesn't tell them that they need to clean up their act first. He doesn't demand that they get everything right. He's just asking them to open the door. And His offer comes with clear guidance. Buy gold refined in the fire. That is that true spiritual wealth that comes through testing. White clothes to wear. He's saying to depend on His righteousness instead of depending on their own accomplishments. Eye salve to put in your eyes. This is the clarity to see themselves the way that God sees them. This week, let's ask ourselves some hard questions. Where have I become spiritually lukewarm? What areas of my life do I need to give back to God? Am I hearing Jesus knock? If so, what's keeping me from opening the door? The message to Laodicea reminds us that comfort can be dangerous when it leads to spiritual laziness. Jesus would rather us be cold knowing that we need Him rather than lukewarm and being self-deceived. But here's the beautiful thing. No matter how comfortable we've become, no matter how self-sufficient we think that we are, Jesus is still knocking. He's still waiting. He still wants to come in and restore that intimate fellowship we were made for. The question is, are we ready to admit our need and open the door?